If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our U.S.-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Oh, yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Monday, November 17th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds today. A little chillier than it has been, the high 44. Tonight and overnight, clear, low 36. And then Tuesday, kind of the same thing. Sunshine, a little warmer, high 47. If you are walking out the door with us right now, 36 and clear in Glen Cove out on Long Island. It's 34 and clear in Pennington over in New Jersey. And it's 37 and clear right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
A mass shooting has neighbors in Newark on edge. Who shot a New York Jet player in Midtown Manhattan? A vote to release the Epstein files will take place this week. Mayor-elect Mamdani finally has a sit-down with Jessica Tisch. And a Brooklyn woman knows how to dine, but not how to dash. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. Okay, so when we left you on Friday, the federal government had reopened, but the delays, cancellations at the airport, they continued over the weekend. But the good news is the FAA's given clearance to put everything back to normal, right? They were purposely holding back some of the flights because there wasn't enough air traffic controllers in those control towers at airports across the country. 40 airports in particular were really being hit hard, including Kennedy, Newark, and LaGuardia. So the good news is FAA gave the green light late yesterday. So now we start the process of fully opening the airports, of course, just in time as people are getting ready for the Thanksgiving holiday.
That 6% flight cut is going to stay in place till at least Monday or Tuesday.
Okay, that's travel editor Peter Greenberg. Now the FAA has lifted that reduction order.
And then it'll take the airlines between 36 hours and 72 hours to get the planes back in sequence, the flight crews back in schedule, and then those flights operating as normal.
Right, so that's the problem is you got to get everybody back into place because those reductions had been put in place. Now you got to get crews back to the airports where they're supposed to be at. The flights that had been canceled now back on. Travel editor Peter Greenberg predicts the airports will not be as busy next weekend as in past years because early Thanksgiving travelers started to cancel their flights when they saw this government shutdown going on, choosing to drive instead. So the highways will probably be busier this Thanksgiving week than they have been in the past. Now, the airports will still be crazy, but maybe not as crazy because lots of people decided to drive.
Because of the government shutdown, a lot of people canceled their flight reservations, didn't want to go through that problem, and on trips of under 400 miles, they're packing everybody in the car and they're driving.
Yes, so if you have a chance to leave early for that Thanksgiving holiday and you're driving, you might want to do that. If you can leave early coming back, you might want to do that as well. And taking a quick look at the airports this morning, things are definitely better than they were over the weekend. It's not 100% back. Again, it's going to take a while to get those flight crews back in place now that the FAA has given the green light to open everything fully back up, right? The 10% reduction, that's gone. We'll continue to monitor that as the morning wears on. Let's bring it back to Midtown Manhattan, where Jets cornerback Chris Boyd still in critical but stable condition after being shot. This was early Sunday morning. The shooting happened about 2 a.m. outside an Asian fusion restaurant right along West 38th Street. Cops raced to the scene. They found the 29-year-old Jet player with a gunshot wound to the abdomen. First responders transported him to Bellevue Hospital, where he is currently listed in critical but stable condition. A spokesman for the team says the team's aware of the situation, will have no further comment at this time. Now, they didn't play this weekend because they had a Thursday night game. people in this neighborhood, they say they can't remember the last time they had heard of shots fired.
It's pretty horrifying, and it's sad that such a great place like Manhattan, these things happen.
So far, no arrests. Police looking for a gunman who fled in a blue BMW in connection to the shooting. Now, they do not know, or they're not telling us anyway, the relationship between the Jet player and the gunman. Unclear. Boyd is a cornerback who's in his first season with New York after signing a one-year, $1.6 million deal in free agency, but hasn't played after suffering a season-ending shoulder injury in the preseason. So neighbors again along West 38th Street say it's a jumping neighborhood because lots of good restaurants there, but normally not lots of gunfire.
And if he's playing for the Jets, he's a home athlete. He represents the city, and, it's unfortunate to be caught up in a situation like that,
These events really make people fearful to come into the city and to enjoy all that the city has to offer. So it's sad, and we pray for him and his family and hope that he recovers.
Yeah, Boyd spent 4 seasons with the Vikings before playing for Arizona and the Houston Texans. 5:05, let's go over to Newark, New Jersey. Police back at the spot where a 10-year-old boy and a 21-year-old woman were shot and killed over the weekend. 3 others were injured. This was a mass shooting on a street corner Saturday night. One witness was inside his store. This was about 7 o'clock at night when he saw sparks outside. Didn't know exactly what was going on at first, then realized it was someone shooting guns at people standing near a bus stop.
When I heard the gunshots, pretty loud. All my family, we hit the ground, of course, and tried to stay low. Once it was over, I came outside to investigate and saw a few bodies on the ground.
Yeah, that's when he saw 5 bodies in the ground in all.
It's disturbing. It's disturbing, and these family members are absolutely traumatized by what happened to their loved ones, and therefore we need to be there for them as well.
As a father, feel bad, sad about the news. I don't want to hear news like that.
Man, last night, the mom of one of the victims, 21-year-old Kia Scott, she came out to a rally that took place at the site of this shooting. It was a rally vigil, I guess. And she called on the gunmen to turn themselves in.
It's a shame. They killed my daughter, killed these people, shooting people. It's ridiculous. Where you at, though, now? Where you at? You will be caught.
Yeah, she's right about that. The 10-year-old victim has been identified as Jordan Garcia. He played on a local football team, and we'll hear from the coach in just a moment, but here's a relative.
It hurts. It really hurts. Coaches were coming back from one of the regional games from another team, Jackie Robinson's team. They saw him. He actually offered them a ride. They said, "No, coach, we going straight home." Yeah,
a 60-year-old man, a 19-year-old, and an 11-year-old boy, 11-year-old were also injured. Now, the 11-year-old was friends with the 10-year-old. News of the shooting sparked just this outpouring of grief on the Westward Hawks Facebook page. There are a lot of cameras in this area. Detectives reviewing the footage to determine who's behind the shooting.
Moms, I just feel so sad for her because she works real hard for them boys.
Yeah, so the Essex County Sheriff's Department now offering $10,000 reward for information on this case. The prosecutor plans to brief the media more coming up at 10:30 this morning. And while we're in Newark, it was just a tragic weekend across the board in the Brick City. A 2-year-old boy died after falling from the window of a high-rise building on Saturday morning. The deadly fall happened about 7 a.m. inside a residential building on Elizabeth Avenue.
Trust me, I wish I have something to say to the mom because that's the only one I'm thinking about now. She need help.
That's a neighbor who was up at that early hour. Police officers responding after reports that this child had fallen from the 20th floor. First responders pronounced the 2-year-old victim dead at the scene. There's this active, ongoing investigation as to what took place.
I don't think that baby is that heavy to break that window down. So that means there's something going on there. So they should see if they can do something fine. We appreciate it because the safety of the tenants is the main thing they should be thinking about.
Yeah, law enforcement sources at this time believe the incident is a tragic accident. They plan to update this story as well a little bit later this morning. Democratic Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy taking aim at President Trump ahead of the vote in the House this week that would force the Department of Justice to release all the Epstein files. Murphy says he believes the president is seriously implicated in these files.
This is most likely the biggest corruption scandal in the history of the country. We know that because Donald Trump is going to these extraordinary lengths to stop these files from coming out.
Okay, that was, maybe you could make the argument that that was true. But the president came out over the weekend, yesterday, and told Republicans that they should pass this thing, put it through, and let the Epstein files out. Here's House Speaker Mike Johnson accusing Democratic lawmakers of pushing the Epstein files to villainize President Trump.
Democrats have nothing else to talk about. What have they accomplished in 10 months? Epstein is their entire game plan. So we're going to take that weapon out of their hand this week. He's not worried about it. I talk to him all the time. He has nothing to do with this. He's frustrated that they're turning it into a political issue, and it's not surprising because the Democrats have nothing else to talk about.
And here was President Trump on the Epstein files.
I will say this. If they had anything, they would have used it before the election. Okay? I can't tell you what they put in since the election. But if they had anything, you don't think they would have used it before the election? I was never on his island. Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. You're going to have to look into his friends. We think it's bad to talk about it because it gets away from the subject of how well the Republicans are doing.
And President Trump yesterday calling on Republican lawmakers to vote to release all the documents related to the convicted sex offender Epstein. A vote is scheduled for tomorrow, despite the president's previous oppositions. But he put out the statement last night. He said House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide, and it's time to move past what he calls this Democratic hoax that the radical left lunatics have brought on. So that vote will happen Tuesday. Will be anything exciting or revealing when we see these files? I guess we'll have to wait until Tuesday to find out. 5:12. Reverend Jesse Jackson, still in the hospital, now reportedly receiving a form of life support. This according to CNN. CNN's reporting a source close to the family says Jackson's receiving the form of life support to stabilize his blood pressure. The civil rights leader's been under observation for progressive supranuclear palsy since last Wednesday. Further details about his condition have not been released. The information we have is from CNN. PSP is this rare neurological disorder that affects body movements, walking, and balance and eye movements. Apparently he's been dealing with this for a while, but again, they're saying he's receiving a form of life support. Of course, as we get more details on the story, we'll pass it on to you. 5:13, Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania back home after spending 3 days in a Pittsburgh hospital for a head injury.
The Pennsylvania Democrat made the announcement on social media Saturday and showed a picture of himself with stitches in his head. Fetterman wrote, quote, 20 stitches later and a full recovery, I'm back home with my wife and kids. A spokesman for Fetterman said the senator fell Thursday while taking a walk outside his home near Pittsburgh, where he had what doctors called, quote, a ventricular fibrillation flare-up, which led him feeling lightheaded and falling to the ground. I'm Jim Forbes.
WABC News Time 5:14. FBI Director Kash Patel on the news shows over the weekend talking about how the U.S. has taken a major step with an agreement with China to stop shipping ingredients used to make fentanyl. He said he expects to see an immediate impact.
We got the agreement solidified, and it's already in place, and we're going to see immediate results and immediate American lives saved.
Now, the agreement came after President Trump cut tariffs on Chinese goods following a meeting with President Xi, where the Chinese leader promised to tackle fentanyl trafficking. Kash Patel speaking on the impact of this agreement, which, again, he thinks will be immediate.
If we can save tens of thousands of American lives, then it was worth it. And I think we're already seeing those results. And at least on the fentanyl front, they have committed to this. They've kept their word on this. And we are saving American lives.
All right, keep our fingers crossed that he's right about that. All right, in a moment, we're going to hear from Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's pushing back on President Trump's criticism regarding her. He went after her big time over the weekend. We'll hear from her in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning and happy Monday, Justin Ellick.
Good morning. Happy Monday to you, Noam Layden. Start here on the gridiron, NFL Week 11 at MetLife. Early afternoon yesterday, Jameis Winston and the Giants fell to 2-9 after a 27-20 loss to the visiting Green Bay Packers. Winston making his first start in 11 months, and Mike Kafka debuting as interim coach after the firing of Brian Dable. The Giants lost their 5th game in a row despite 2 touchdown runs from Devin Singletary and a QB sneak touchdown by Winston. Up next for the Giants, they'll visit Detroit next Sunday. Tonight, Monday Night Football wrapping out Week 11 action here in the NFL. 8:15 p.m. kickoff. It's the 3-5-1 Cowboys at the 2-7 Raiders in Vegas. Cowboys there, 3.5-point road favorites. Head to the ice at the Garden. Rangers dropped a 2-1 nail-biter to the visiting Detroit Red Wings. Mika Zibanejad scored for the Rangers, who snapped a 3-game winning streak and fell to 1-7-1 at home to go along with their league-best 9-1-1 road mark. Jonathan Quick finished with 40 saves. Zibanejad tied it with his 7th on the power play with 8:01 remaining in the middle period. Artemi Panarin had an assist on the play, giving him 11 points in his last 6 games. New York, which beat Nashville last Monday for its lone home win, has been shut out 5 times and scored once in 2 other losses at MSG. Up next for the Rangers, they'll be at Vegas tomorrow night to begin a 3-game road trip. In Colorado, the Islanders lost handedly 4-1 to the Avalanche. Emil Heineman scored, and Elias Sorokin stopped 25 shots for New York, who, despite last night's loss, had won the first 4 games prior on a 7-game road trip. Up next for the Islanders, they'll be at Dallas tomorrow night to visit the Stars. Head to the Hardwood in Washington. Michael Porter Jr. scored 34 points, and Tyrese Martin scored 7 straight points late in the third quarter and finished with 20 as the Nets sent the Wizards to their 11th straight loss, 129-106, in a matchup of 1-win teams. The Nets snapped a 4-game skid and won for the first time since beating Indiana in the first week of November.
Oh, my God. So it's 2 wins now? Is that what they have?
Yeah, exactly.
So what are they, 2-11?
2-11, I believe, is the
Go
correct
Nets.
mark. Yeah, right? Hey, we're rolling. We are on a streaker now. So that's their first win since the first week in November. And that victory, if you remember, ended a run of 7 straight losses to open this season. Both the Brooklyn's victories have come on the road, where they are 2-5. Nick Claxton scored 17. Zyra Williams added 13. Noah Clowney finished with 12. And Terrence Mann, 10 for Brooklyn. Up next for them, they'll host the Boston Celtics tomorrow night. And the Knicks, they are back in action tonight. Get to look forward to that. That's a 7:30 p.m. tip-off in Miami against the Heat. That is your Sports Home, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:19. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene pushing back on President Trump's criticism regarding her. The Georgia Republican says the president's comments have been hurtful so far.
He called me a traitor, and that is so extremely wrong, and those are the types of words used that can radicalize people against me and put my life in danger.
In a post on Truth Social, the president called Greene a ranting lunatic and says she has gone far left. He also said he would support a primary challenger against her and criticized Greene for going on the TV show The View.
I'm standing with the women, and I will continue to do my small part to get the files released.
Yeah, she's talking about the Epstein files, which President Trump last night said he was okay with Republicans giving the green light to releasing those files. There's going to be a vote on Tuesday, but she says that's what she thinks all this pushback against her is about.
I believe the country deserves transparency in these files, and I don't believe that rich, powerful people should be protected if they have done anything wrong.
Again, the president last night telling Republicans that they should vote in favor of releasing those documents. 5:20, federal investigators are on the campus of UC Berkeley looking into how the school handled protests outside a recent Turning Point USA event. Members of the U.S. Attorney General's office, they visited the campus to meet with Turning Point's USA Berkeley chapter president to find out what exactly took place.
The president is appalled to see violence on America's campuses. He believes in the First Amendment.
That's the Assistant Attorney General, Harmeet Dillon. Discussions are being held after 3 people were arrested amid protests against the Turning Point event on the campus. That was last Monday. Some attendees have said they they did not feel safe, and federal investigators want to look into what kind of security plan the school had for that event last Monday.
We're deeply concerned about persistent Antifa violence that we've seen here in the city of Berkeley and on the Berkeley campus over the years.
Yeah, Harmeet says investigators are also looking at the protests as a possible Antifa movement moment. 5:21. Illegal land border crossings are down, but the U.S. Coast Guard is keeping up its response near San Diego as ocean smuggling attempts continue to rise. So if they can't get via land, now they're trying via sea. The Coast Guard tripled its presence near San Diego County back in January, and while illegal land border crossings are down something like 95% so far this year, they are seeing this increase on the waters, and so they're watching the waters more closely today.
In the past 6 months or so, we've seen an increase in alien smuggling attempts via the maritime vector, which includes personal watercraft or jet skis, aliens attempting to swim around the maritime fence down at the border, and then using panga-style fishing vessels, as well as pleasure craft vessels that you might see anywhere around San Diego.
Coast Guard Commander Gregory Waugh there says people can call in suspicious activity at any time. The Coast Guard of San Diego, they're hoping they will, as they continue to try to catch these people before they make land.
Since January, the Coast Guard has tripled our presence off of San Diego to enforce our customs and immigration laws. So it's a core mission for us, something we do every day, particularly in San Diego. But we have increased the number of assets off of San Diego to prevent these smuggling attempts. Aircraft to detect the vessels on the water. We have radar, camera, and sensor systems that are on shore that help us detect these vessels. Once we detect one of the vessels, we'll use either one of our small boats, one of our Coast Guard cutters, or our partners at Customs and Border Protection, one of their boats, to interdict the vessel at sea.
And Waugh says a lot of the smuggling that's taking place in the San Diego, it's human smuggling.
When these vessels attempt to make a landing on the beach or somewhere else along the shoreline, it's extremely dangerous. People can go in the water, and we've seen aliens actually drown in the surf zone because they're unable to swim. Recreational boaters, if they see a vessel that appears to be overloaded with people, if it's riding low in the water, it just seems off or is doing something that you wouldn't normally see a vessel doing off of San Diego, please feel free to call the Coast Guard sector San Diego and let us know about it.
All right, while we're talking California Governor Gavin Newsom spent this past week at the UN Climate Conference in Brazil, came home over the weekend, and included a visit to the heart of the Amazon rainforest.
Governor Newsom spent one day in the Amazon River Basin and witnessed how they utilize sustainable solutions in one of the world's most important ecosystems.
So I'm here in the heart of the Amazon, just walked up 15 stories on top of a data tower with sensors and data that is collected and shared all across the United States of America, including in the state of California.
He says he's taking back the information he learned in Brazil to Sacramento. I'm Jim Forbes.
WABC News Time 524. A U.S. Navy carrier strike group is now in the Caribbean as tensions deepen in the region.
The USS Gerald R. Ford has joined U.S. forces already in the Caribbean as part of the Trump administration's effort to disrupt drug trafficking and dismantle transnational criminal organizations. According to a Navy news release, the world's most advanced aircraft carrier arrived in the region last week on orders from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. I'm Mark Mayfield.
WABC News Time 524. A new Apple feature will allow users to carry their passports on their phones.
The tech company says digital ID for iPhones and Apple Watches is being rolled out at TSA checkpoints at over 250 airports across the U.S. for use when traveling within the country. It adds, however, that digital ID does not replace a physical passport and cannot be used for international travel or crossing borders. I'm Lisa Carton.
WABC News Time 525.
In the world of magic, everything that disappears reappears.
The latest installment in the Now You See Me franchise, #1 in North America. Now You See Me, Now You Don't brings back Jesse Eisenberg and Woody Harrelson as thieving magicians. It made $21 million over the weekend in its box office debut. Paramount sci-fi reboot The Running Man starring Glenn Powell, that came in second, took in $17 million in its opening weekend. O.J. Simpson's estate has agreed to pay the family of Ron Goldman $58 million now.
According to court documents, the estate executor has accepted the family's claim, which was originally filed in 2021 for $117 million. It's not clear how much the estate will be able to raise from selling Simpson's assets. Simpson died in April of 2024. He was acquitted of the 1994 murders of his ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and Goldman, but was found liable in civil court. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
File this story under weird and tragic at the same time. A 22-year-old man in critical condition in Greece after attempting to swallow an entire burger whole.
The man, whose name has not been released, made the attempt during a meal with friends in Kuropi Thursday. He has since been placed on a ventilator. The man reportedly stopped breathing for 2 minutes. His airways were obstructed, leading to severe complications affecting his brain, kidneys, and other organs. Local police are investigating the incident, and they're seeking footage from the restaurant to determine if anyone encouraged him to attempt the stunt. I'm Jim Roop.
If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.